This was sort of interesting. I thought we can discuss. I think we can just have a little bit of conversation back and forth. Oregon 6 week leave program. And when I try to understand from a business standpoint, how would that affect my business? And I couldn't put my two thoughts together. So I guess either we need to dive in a little bit more in this and have a discussion. But I'm curious, what do you guys think? Like, if you run a business, to lose somebody for a 6 week leave program seems a little bit too much, especially if that's somebody that we're relying on so much. But I might be completely wrong. So I'm curious. Maybe Ashley, you want to kick this off?
Well, I think it's interesting when you said, we're relying on them so much. So then my question becomes, are you like an individual driven business, or are you a systems driven business? So, in my mind, you should have systems set up for anyone can kind of come in to plug and play and have backup plans in place to manage systems, instead of being like, oh, we count on this one person so much. That's also a lot of pressure to put on one person, and you're probably causing some mental health issues that you don't necessarily know you're causing. So I'm like I don't want to say I'm liberal. I guess technically I'm a registered libertarian. So like I see like both sides of things. I want states to have their rights, and I want to, have my own little business. But I think it's just more about treating people like people and having conversations. Also, 6 weeks, is this 6 weeks total throughout the year, or is this 6 weeks at a time?
This
Because I
says
think
Six
that it's
weeks at a
12
time, the way I
weeks.
read it.
it says 12 weeks.
You can take up to 12 weeks paid leave in a 52-week period, and you may be able to take up to 2 additional weeks. So 14 weeks.
Wow, I'm going to move to Oregon. Is the point of this?
I'm not moving to Oregon.
Ashley, I believe the term you were looking for there is hippie.
Oh, that's what it is. I'm a little
hippie.
bleeding heart hippie. Yes, I am. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I 100% see both sides of it. I've been on both sides of, owning businesses, being on the other side of it. It's a lot. That is kind of an extreme, I think. I also think if you are treating your employees well, if you are, creating a positive work environment, they're not going to, it's not going to hurt so bad when they are taking that time off. And again, if you do have systems driven companies, then it's less likely to hurt. But I mean, this still is a little intense, I have to say.
I mean,
Aaron?
I totally agree that that your people need time off, they need time to like renew, refresh, all that kind of stuff. I personally am kind of like, no, just let me work harder. So it's a little anathema to me personally, but I recognize the fact that when I take time off, I'm better coming back, but I don't want to take the time off to start with. But the flip side of it is the fact that it's being mandated by the government is my problem.
Yeah.
It's like, it makes perfect sense as a business owner. It's going to pay you back more. It's best for you. It's best for your staff right down the line. But as soon as you say, and the government requires it of you, now I'm unhappy. So yeah.
So
Brian, I want to make sure I don't have to blip the whole thing that you're going to say. So
the fuck are you talking about? No, I think that the thing so I look at it like this: where the dental industry is temporary employees are asking insane amounts. So you go on any of these websites and look up to get like a temp hygienist or a temp assistant, right? You got temp hygienists that are like $60-$70 an hour. So a program like this is going to give somebody 12 weeks. I have to go get a temporary, one of my options. I have to get a temporary hygienist who maybe costs twice as much as that employee. So then I got to shell out that money to fill that position for a limited amount of time, and then this person can come back. The other option is I hire somebody with the intent of knowing I'm going to let them go when this person comes back, because this program, you have to rehire them. Like that spot has to be available for them. So like, what is the worst of the two? I have to eat glass and be far less profitable. Or I'm going to lie to someone and hire them knowing that I'm going to let them go after a certain amount of time when this person comes back. Or I can play a roll of the dice and just hope that that person doesn't come back. Because you hear about that. I've had it happen where you're like, yeah, I'll pay you for, maternity leave. And they're like, I can't wait to come back. I can't wait to come back. You're paying them. And then as soon as it's time for them to come back, they're like, never mind. I don't feel like working anymore. I'm going to stay at home. So maybe I'm cynical. Maybe it's because you've been burned or you hear stories about people being burned. It's good. It's good that this is, something that can happen. It's comparable to, a European way of doing it, but there it's an entire country and everyone's paying 50% of their wages back into the country so that things like this can exist. So I think it's tough. I think the other thing I look at is like minimum wage employee, your normalized weekly earnings per year, $540, your leave benefits, $540. So you make your exact same, paycheck. The median income employee, $1,290 a week. They drop to $1,042 a week. And then high income employees. So I'm thinking, what if you had a dentist or a high performing hygienist, and then they drop in half, $1,000, and so it's going to be harder on higher income employees to use that whole time. So it kind of dissuades people that are higher income from taking their whole time because their pay is going to get cut tremendously.
Interesting. That's an interesting point.
And I would also venture to say that a lot of high income employees also have higher expenses because of some of the things that we were talking about earlier, like student debt and that sort of stuff. And so just because somebody's making more money does not mean that it's all going into the bank, right? Like some of those things are spoken for. So it's just a thought to throw out there.
Mm-hmm.
I only cussed once, Tiger. One time.
I know.
Side note: are we not allowed to cuss? I thought we were allowed to cuss.
Oh,
yeah, fuck yeah, you are.
I mean, it's impossible to keep you guys in check. Yeah. No, forget about that. But that's a good point. I mean, it seems like a lot of government programs lately are geared towards that.
What was that, Aaron?
That's just me barking about, things that are going on. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the other thing too is it is interesting that when you look at this, it's definitely geared to be more favorable for lower income employees.
Mm-hmm. What does it say though? What's the message?
Ashley gets to answer that one.
Well, I think some of it is that they're figuring that people that are making more money have the ability to take time off more readily and more easily. And those that aren't making as much need more help to be able to have those same kind of advantages. And so therefore, they've created a system where it seems like it's going to be geared more towards lower income employees.
Interesting.
It is. What is interesting about it is that if you look at the annual contribution, the employee, and it is part of the program, the employees pay more than the employers, but it's actually not a whole lot. Annual employer paid leave contribution, $112. Granted, that's for one person. If you employ 30, that's quite a bit coming out of your bank account, but.
Mm-hmm. So it's coming
actually, fuck it. Now that I think about it, if you're paying $531 and you had 20 of those people working for you, that's a lot of freaking money coming out of your bank account.
For something you didn't sign up for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. I don't know. I was talking to Jill about this actually. I kind of like the idea of leaving these things for employer and employee to decide between each other, because I feel like it's a sort of a marketplace and the two people can sit down and discuss. I understand there are some circumstances when it's harder for employees to have that conversation. But I do feel like if it's a genuine relationship where both people need each other, you're just going to have to figure this out. And I wish that the government wouldn't be involved in this. And if I need someone, obviously I'm going to sit down and make sure that the people are taken care of. And if they need 6 weeks, we'll figure out how to get that done. But again, that's just my point of view.
But also, I mean, we're all basically business owners. None of us is just strictly an employee anywhere, you know, so we have a lot of autonomy and a lot of say-so in most aspects of our lives. So I think this hits differently for us than it would for someone who is just strictly an employee somewhere.
Right. For somebody, it might be harder to have that kind of conversation. So versus for us, it's like, hey, let's sit down and discuss. This is not going the way I thought it would, right? So yeah, I recognize that. Ashley, I think you wanted to add something.
Oh my God, I have 500 things, but like, I'm not gonna stand on a soapbox here. Like, I guess, yeah, to that point, yes, sit down, have a conversation. That's great. But what about Aspen Dental? Like this is for organizations, you know, like Starbucks and like huge organizations that are making huge profits off of that minimum wage worker and the time that minimum wage worker is putting in. You know, you mentioned, yeah, you know, they can't afford to take time off, but these companies make very large profits off of them. Like, I don't necessarily think that the reason this came about is because small business owners, yes, we're all business owners, but like relatively speaking, it's because small business owners are taking advantage of their employees. But I think it's something for us to consider. I don't know.
We're not moving forward. Just not happening.
We're not moving forward?
No, we're not moving to Oregon. That's just not happening.
Oh, I love Oregon.
I mean,
Well,
I love it as a state. Yes, Aaron.
Yeah, as you read through this, it's not about taking a vacation to take a vacation. It's like they have a life event. I mean, the most positive of the things that happens is you had a kid. Everything else is like something bad happened in your life and you need the time.
Yeah, they're not just like, here, take 6 weeks of vacation. They're like, hey, it's like you got injured or you have a sick parent to take care of or something. Yep. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like, here, we want you to go to Cancun. Like,
right. Unless your sick parent is in Cancun, then you could go, and that would be.
Let's go back to that. What did we talk about last month? The tourist healthcare style thing. You know, if your parents are in Cancun getting treatment.
I just wonder. I wonder what safeguards. I think because my mind always goes devil's advocate, and so I'm like, okay, so I'm somebody who works in Oregon, and my mom gets sick. And then I'm like, fuck it. I want a few more weeks off. I'm going to get paid the same amount. So what safeguards are in place to make sure that people don't abuse something like this? Because it is set up to genuinely help people, says the hippie. But seriously, I mean, like, you know, because you're now messing with the state and your employer if you're abusing the system. But what is in place to ensure that it doesn't get abused? Because 12 weeks is a lot of freaking time. And if you're just like, nah, I'm just gonna I'm gonna sit back and go to Cancun for 3 weeks. It also
says up to 12 weeks. Like, it's not.
No, but that's what I'm saying is you could take a couple of weeks off, and then Ma's healthy, and then you're like, yeah, but this is kind of nice. Like, I don't have to go to work, and I'm getting paid.
Well, the other thing too is, so as you look through this roster, if you're a minimum wage employee, you get paid the same. If you're a median income employee, you're getting paid about $250 less. If you're high income, you're getting paid about $1,100 less. So the interesting thing is it incentivizes lower paid people to be more dishonest, which seems a little bit unfair. You know, if you were a higher wage employee, would you have higher integrity if you got paid the same as when, you know, you weren't on this leave? I don't know, you know, but it just seems like it's like asking you, if you're a lower wage employee, to like milk the system because it's so much in your favor.
Interesting point.
This could spin into a 4-hour conversation. I think maybe
Right.
we'll go to the
I
next
think
one.
we need to wrap this up.
Ashley's
I
going to
think
reach
we're
through and
discussing.
choke me with her left hand and Aaron with her right hand. She might kiss Tiger on the forehead.
Right. No, she'll send Davis to kill me for bringing this topic up.
Hang on, just let me get my crystals out real quick, and we'll just
Yeah.
do some more crystals.